One of the most powerful moments in my childhood when I watched The Lion King was seeing Mufasa tell Simba, "Remember who you are, Simba." There is something very powerful in making someone come face to face with his or her history, even if it did seem, very apparent. It reorients us and places us back into our place. I think of it as a very enlightening experience to remember who we are. How many times have you ever doubted in a certain possibility to happen in your life, like an impossible job to land or a certain ambition of yours to come true? It's those types of dreams that when they pass you by, you feel so far. And you just think to yourself, I am not that guy. There's no way that it will ever happen to me. The verse I want to share isn't about dreams that are out of reach, but it's about something that seems more unlikely, more improbable. And that is having our decayed bones brought back to life from the very graves we get buried into. Today, this is a claim that many people think, is more impossible than having our little dreams come true. So Allah talks to us about that. In Surah Yasin, Allah says, وَضَرَبَ لَنَا مَثَلًا وَنَسِيَ خَلْقَهُ قَالَ مَنْ يُحْيِي الْعِظَامَ وَهِيَ رَمِيمٌ. He, as in man, has set up an argument about us and forgot his creation. He said, who will give life to the bones when they are decayed? Allah says man makes arguments as to why this whole, bringing my bones back to life thing won't work. And essentially in the process making such a claim, it is clear that he forgets his own creation. He forgets what he was. I honestly see that whenever we are filled with so much pessimism and have doubts about Allah's power to change our circumstances and make, what's impossible possible, we also forget our own creation when we make such a claim. Now, how do these two ideas connect though? Allah reminds us here that if you think something such as recreating a bone is a concept that's too hard to grasp, then recall your origins. We sometimes like looking up our family trees for the purpose of channeling prestige from our lineage. I am the son of so-and-so, and my second cousin would be the nephew of I don't know what. But if we were to really delve into our actual history, it's not that endearing. We came from a drop, people. A drop of base liquid, as Allah would describe elsewhere. So look at how beautiful and elegant this argument comes together. If Allah made our bodies emerge from just this drop, then it must be easier to bring some bones back in place. We don't always need Allah's power to be demonstrated in a grand way to really believe in the impossible. We can see His power in ourselves. And so it only becomes a problem when we forget who we are, that we cease to have hope for our dreams and wishes. Now, on that note of dreams and making them come true, there's a work to do to get there. If you happen to remember who you are, the next natural step should be to embrace what you are. Let me explain that. So, in the world we live in today, where there are thousands of ways of doing things, expressing identities and getting recognized, we are all prone to just be confused as to how are we supposed to go about doing these things, right? So, yes, I know I have to go to school, get married, find a job, raise kids, but how should it be done? Should I just choose a major with the highest paycheck in return to make me happy? Should I make sure to have a top company name when I go job hunting? Should I have an expensive wedding to make a statement of how much my family is worth in people's eyes? Personally, I always had people in mind when I did certain things, like choosing university. I had questions like, how prestigious would it be? How does it compare to all these fancy universities my other friends are getting into? Will it be a prideful choice in my parents' eyes and by extension, society? We say it all the time in Surah Al-Ikhlas. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, right? Say the truth is that Allah is one. Say Allah is one. The word ahad here is a little more than just one though. It implies uniqueness, exclusivity. Allah is the one, rather, the only one. If it's still confusing, just think of Keanu Reeves, okay? Keanu Reeves in The Matrix. He was called the One, implying that he's the only one that can save the human race. It wasn't because he was one person, it was because he was the only person that can do it. There are many ways we can benefit from the name Al-Ahad. If Allah is unique, then He created all of us uniquely as well. That's easy to recognize. But on another level, it also means we are meant for unique purposes as well, unique choices. So what's my point here? Don't do yourself a disservice by going with the crowd and just taking cues for your most important decisions from those around you all the time. We are a creation of the Al-Ahad. So it's only natural to follow His path while standing out and pursuing our unique talents He put inside of us. I had an intense university dilemma growing up. I was admitted to one of the world's top 100 universities. And I was really not that ecstatic about it at all. I was away from family, studying something that doesn't exactly make me happy or engaged. I was no longer in my comfort zone. And eventually, I just learned this lesson, that this should have been my own decision. I wanted to be with my family and to be able to practice and learn more about Islam because I discovered a gap between where I was and where I wanted to be. I also wanted to find a decent university that also happens to have the major I need. So that would be optimal for me. That's what I thought. And when I did that, everyone called me crazy, except a small few. But I know what I did was valid for my own needs and wants, which no one knows except me. I never regretted this decision. My time after that were one of the best years of my life. And so sometimes we have to bring the validation of our own selves and our own inclinations in the picture and appreciate our unique creation that we are. I stress on the fact that it is what we are that ends up blossoming. The what here would become that legacy you'll leave behind, and that is what your identity will be associated with forever. Fortunately, this is a lesson that's really easy to remember. We just have to say, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Allah has unique plans for all of us to help people, build infrastructures, create art, develop economies, grow the earth, teach knowledge, make great families, and ultimately make a difference. And that's what counts. There are honorable statures and places for all of us here, and they will never knock on our door if we are too afraid to stand out to choose what we want to choose. This is what it means to have a unique God. Source your pride and security from knowing that standing out from the crowd isn't something to be ashamed of. It's what you're meant to do. If we remember who we are, we realize we were nothing. From nothing to a drop of water to these intellectual beings charged with these great and unique ambitions that happen when we embrace what we are. On top of that, we are all taking care of a whole planet spinning, floating in dark, empty space. Point is, our physical existence is enough proof of the unseen supernatural existence. And so when it comes to the human resurrection, it's actually not that far off. And all we need to recognize is just some serious self-reflection. And of course, as always, I just want to remind you this is not a tafsir. This is a reflection on the established meanings of the verses amongst our scholars. I'm not your neighborhood scholar or your teacher. I'm just some Muslim kid.